Estou convidando vocês todos a virem. And now I'm going to switch to English to introduce Carol Pons, who will be your speaker this afternoon on the topic of festivals and markets. Carol.
Hello. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Lydia, for the introduction and all the organization. I felt very welcome to be at Sao Paulo. It's my first time in Brazil, so very excited. But yeah, today I was invited to do this workshop with you. The goal is to, a little bit reflect on why it's important for us to position as professionals and our projects in the international market, taking into account that nowadays there's so many competition, there are so many projects being made, and we will see throughout the projects why having a good strategy up front usually helps to get our projects to achieve our goals with our projects. When it comes to promoting them internationally, having them selected in festivals, maybe for some of you to co-produce with international producers. So first of all, I would like to have an idea of who in the room is a producer. If you can raise your hands. Okay, a lot of producers. Any programmers, curators? And then filmmakers, like directors also. Okay, so it's quite diverse. I already planned to do something that I hope it works for all of you. So let me see if I can make this work. Yeah, so as I was saying, we can think of positioning a project, a film, or we can think of positioning ourselves. It's not one or the other. Actually, for me and how I see it, of course it's happening, is that one thing works, things can work at the same time, but my point to this is that sometimes we don't have a project that is in the right time to bring it to the international market, but we as professionals are in the right moment to do this step. So what we are going to do today is we're going to first understand which are the places we can position a project and which are the places we can position ourselves as professionals. In this industry, it's a lot about selling or marketing projects, but also people. I'm sure that most of the producers here in the room, you are used to promote and talk a lot about your filmmakers and the people that you work with, but you should also take time and think, strategize about promoting yourselves, even though maybe it's not, we are not always under the spotlight, to build this, to think of what's the image we want to have of ourselves as a professionals in the international market. It's important. So today, just to do a small parenthesis, I'm going to be talking about audiences in the sense, more referring to B2B audiences. So when we talk about projects, we are going to be interacting mostly with other fellows in the industry. And of course, all these strategies are being thought to reach an audience eventually in the future. But my ideas here around are more that when we talk about meeting other producers, meeting other distributors, sales, so people in the industry. I will try to make a difference. If anything is not clear, just raise your hand and I can clarify. Okay, so projects. Where can we position our projects? We are talking here about markets, but markets and festivals are huge events. Some of them have a lot of different elements that make these places. For example, right now here we are in a market, but I would also, of course, there are going to be works in progress in the next couple of days. There are going to be some pitchings. We have these workshops, so there are different elements that happen in these big events that are places that we can position our projects. What places that we can position ourselves as professionals, it would be in workshops. Also, there are labs that are aimed specifically to professional development. of course, film schools, matchmaking events, being part of associations. I will go deep in all these things in the next slides. But what makes, what we have to think besides if we are promoting a project or we are promoting a talent ourselves as professionals is the status of our projects. So many times when we think of like going to the market with a project, the first thing that we have to really evaluate is in which stage we are, if it's the right moment to attend, to apply to a fund, to apply to an international pitching. That's actually quite key in the sense that sometimes it can be too early, or sometimes there is only one call, and either we use it or next year our project will be already too old. And this happened in all the stages. Now, what we see right now is that the projects that have a good exhibition, when I talk about the exhibition, I'm already talking about the festival premieres, like cinema releases, actually have had already built this audience from the development stage. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not talking about the final person who is going to go to the cinema to watch our film. I'm talking about all the partners that are going to join in the different stages of the production of our projects, that we need to get our project known to them in all these different stages. And to do that, besides having contacts, because we all know that this industry is a lot about knowing other people and like building this relationship, there are all these different events or like labs, workshops that are going to help us to position our projects in these stages. So if, for example, projects in development, we can go to Script Lab, we can go to, like, for example, Torino. But if we are already financing and we want to our project to be more international, we could think of a co-production, because we can think of like these international funds. There's going to be a talk about international funds during the market too. So there are different activities, let's say, that are aimed to to our projects, depending on the status, on the stage of the project that we are. So before you start like thinking, okay, I want to make my project international, like this might be a too general question, is like, where is my project ready to go now to the international market? And to do that, you will think about what I am promoting, which is the stage of what am I promoting. We could do a similar idea of this with our personal career. Am I in the first years of my personal professional career? I've already produced some films. I've already maybe done an international co-production. These are things that we need to keep in mind when we plan to go international. And the last thing is to think about the territory. I would recommend you to never think about promoting any project just worldwide. Like, worldwide is too big of a thing. It's impossible to talk to audiences worldwide. It's impossible to have a project that is interesting for distributors from all around the world. It's impossible to find a co-producer anywhere, because our project has specificities that will tell us, okay, I'm producing from Brazil. My project is in Portuguese. Okay, obviously, maybe I could think of the Portuguese market. But I don't know, topic of my film is super related to Canada because X reasons. So there's always an exercise that we have to do when we want to partner internationally, to think about the territory that our project it can be strong or is interesting for. Yeah. So there's always a question that it happens a lot when we, well, it's something that I've heard a lot, many people saying that, oh, why do you want to do an international co-production? It's only going to make our films more expensive. It's going to make things more complicated. Like, why do we do that? Because it's true that even though it might bring some challenges, to work internationally has proved that it helps to boost the sales of films, the sales of projects, but even like our own careers. Because, yeah, our industry right now, it's, well, many industries, but it's so globalized that we cannot think only in our own local territories and markets. So the projects that we are seeing that are successful are actually, if you see, are mostly being co-produced, international co-productions, are projects that have been part of many labs or markets. So you realize that to get to this, having these big premieres in big festivals, you track the record of these projects, and most of these projects have had like a strong development path already in all these international events. And because this is it's not only in the development phase, it's also in the financing. Usually these projects have access to international funds. And also many of these projects then got to get deals internationally in other territories. So to build this international exposure about our projects and our profession, we as professionals, we need to be part of these festivals and these markets happening around the world, but not always aiming maybe, well, my reflection here today, I would like us and all of you to think about if it's sometimes necessary to invest money to go to these huge markets, but maybe sometimes for our projects, it's more interesting to start more niche, start more locally, or like, yeah, thinking of what is in my project that is particular, that I can bring into that specific market, and maybe my results are gonna be like bigger and more interesting than going to a big event where I'm gonna be like the smallest part of it. Actually, I'm gonna do a stop now here and introduce myself, because I realized I didn't say much about what I do. But my point to this is, like, of course, here I'm talking with, you are all a lot of people here in this room, and I'm sure you have very different projects, but my experience as a sales agent, and I work with films that have, I would say, a very strong international appeal, but that not always have had to start in the biggest festivals. And with our films, we build the career of our filmmakers also by trying to take the space that other people is like focusing to. I'm gonna just say names, but everyone wants to go to Cannes, everyone wants to go to Berlin. Sometimes if we look to the side, there is much more room in other places where our films will get more visibility. Of course, it's still valid, and I encourage you to be ambitious, to go to these big festivals, because they make a huge difference, especially when it comes to sales. But we are an industry that is, if we think of how many festivals are around the world, there are thousands of festivals in many countries. So there is always a way to find an audience and to show our film. We just need to really, really think about what are our goals with this project and analyze our project. So we at More Than Films, we work with a very curated slate of projects. We have maybe 5 feature films a year and 6, 8 shorts. And we have had experience, of, like very different experience, but we have always given, let's say, an opportunity to look somewhere else, not only to these big events and main events that everyone is telling us that are the important. So just for you to also, like, yeah, give you this maybe slightly different point of view on that, even if it's not straightforward, the most obvious commercial route for our projects, this can end up bringing almost the same results as attending the biggest events. Yeah, so this international career, we are never gonna do it alone. Here I'm talking more on the point of view of the producers, but you have the rights of our films, until the moment you start to, let's say, sign deals and find partners that are going to go with you to the end of the I mean, to finally achieve to the production, the distribution and exhibition of your films. So all these different partners that we can get are the ones that are also, we have to think of who are we partnering when we want to internationalize our projects. One of the key figures of that, to achieve this, to make our projects known globally, are sales agents. That's what I do at More Than Films. And sales agents are the professionals who are going to take worldwide rights of your projects, except the rights, for example, if you're doing just a Brazilian film, a sales agent would take the rights of the whole world except Brazil. And our job is to actually find distributors in different countries of the world. Of course, find festivals, world premiere. But what we do is we find then our own partners nationally around the world, that they have their own partners, like their festivals, their cinema programmers that they trust. So if you think about you right now developing a project, you will need to think of this audience, that's what I was telling, the B2B audience. Your B2B audience can be this programmer in a small cinema in Lisbon because he has a Brazilian cinema festival, for example. And this is like all these people are going to be key to to help us make our film known internationally. And of course, you shouldn't forget about your local partners, because always, and that's the reality right now, or at least for our experience, the strongest market, mainly, of course, it's going to be like still the local. So even though if we are thinking to make a project that is as much, that can connect as many people around the world, or that is tackling projects that might be super universal, we never should forget about who are our partners in the local market, because they are also gonna be, let's say, for example, a local distributor might be thinking of strategies that can help national distributors in other countries. And especially with the smaller films, the type of films that I work, and I think they are the majority of right now in the art house world, we make a lot of connections between distributors to actually make their strategies stronger and also to reduce costs. So all these people has to also kind of be aligned in this goal that we all have, that is promote the film and get the film seen. Even though if they are thinking on the local market, they also can contribute a lot to to distribution in other countries. And yeah, but when we think about that, at least in Europe, we have quite a structured and regularized window system that actually, since COVID and even a little bit before, is kind of in danger. Because these windows that we usually would follow, that we first go in a festival and then we release the film in the cinemas, and then it can go to TV, pay TV, and then platforms, then free TV, and then online. This model, it has been threatened already for some years. So now I feel that has had some positive outcome, in the sense that producers are able to close deals with platforms that were a figure in our industry that was not so present, and now it's there. And even though if you don't have a sales agent, you can get your film to a platform and be seen like an international platform that can result to having an international audience. But what we have seen is that to have that any of the projects that are successful or that get to the whole window system, is because they have had a very strong festival path. And when I mean strong, it's not only in the big events, but as I said, like films that have had some kind of success in this stage, which is the first moment where we are going to show our film. And the question here, and I'm already telling you I don't have the formula, but it's like, how do we get our films to be successful in festivals, so then we can at least ensure that the films are going to have some life after the festival window. And that's a little bit I would say, like the main challenge of our industry right now, that we are seeing that the festivals having let's say an editorial line or a programming line that is not aligned with what many times these other windows are wanting to promote. And we have seen that besides Cannes, right now there is no festival that can ensure all the films that are in their programs to have like actually a distribution after the festival. And that's a little bit sad, but I think we all need to be aware of that many films stay here and are not able to go further in the distribution. But yeah, second. Yeah. So what I was planning to do today is first talk about festivals. As we are saying, these are the like very important or the most important windows for our films. And of course, markets, which are many times associated to big festivals, without forgetting these more niche, regional, territory-focused events that can help position our projects. The first, let me check the time, okay. So what we understand, what makes a festival or an event, I have already said some things about this, but we can go to festivals that are only showing films that are for the audience. We can have festivals that have a market associated, then already it's a professional event. And then again, conferences, masterclasses, co-production forums, labs, work in progress. To put this in an example, we can, for example, look at Berlinale. Berlinale is it's called like one of the big 5 festivals in the world. It's considered A-class and like competitive festival. So we see that the Berlinale has of course, the B2C part, the festival, the exhibition of films with many different sections. It also has a market, it's called the European film market. And in this market, we have a traditional space of exhibitors, which is mostly stands from institutions and film commissions and also sales agents. We have market screenings that are screenings of films that are only aimed at distributors who are going to acquire the rights during the market, but no one else can enter these screenings, only like professionals, I mean, no audience. There is also a serious market, there is like a startup event. One of the most interesting things that I think you should check is the EFM Toolbox program. We can go talk later about this, but it's a professional development initiative from EFM that aims to have quite a diverse selection of professionals. So they are looking to select professionals from around the world. There is specifically a co-production market where you can apply with your project, pitch it, and like find partners. There is the talent section, which is more like the summit. It's also for projects, but also for you can participate as a professional. And lastly, there is the World Cinema Fund, which is also a fund that aims to support projects from outside of Europe, specific countries, that they celebrate the day that is about a showcase about their work. If we look another example, Cannes. Cannes has also a similar structure. We have the festival with the official selection with all the different sections. We have the parallel sections, which are also like very strong, Semaine de la Critique, Quinzaine, and Acid. We have the market. And then we have what they have rebranded recently. It's a mix of the activities of the Short Film Corner, which was the Short Film Corner market, the Short Films market, sorry, and their writing residencies. So La Résidence and L'Atelier are like the project development of like feature films of Cannes. And then all these other, the focus and all these networkings are activities aimed to short films. So this is actually something quite nice that has happened with Cannes, that they transform quite, let's say that was quite of, I don't know if I should use this word, but not a very useful event. That was just the Short Film Corner, that was a kind of a video library with thousands of shorts. They transform it to more of a really like a networking and co-production event. So this has I think it's just like this for maybe 2-3 years, and it has resulted in like a more fruitful experience for the people that attend Cannes. But my point here to show you this is, that you understand, that you can understand why these events are so important, because they have all these elements in a festival, in an event happening at the same time. It's good because this means that we can have projects in many different stages, or we can be as professionals. For example, I'm a sales, and I have quite some years of experience as a sales agent, but I'm now starting to produce. And as a producer, I don't have as much experience. I could still go to Cannes, have a great market, because my company is already positioned for sales, but I don't know a lot about production. So maybe I can start attending some conference about production. I can already be in the forum and like meet other producers for my future projects. So it's true that in these events, we can get kind of, we can kind of meet many of our goals, I would say. But at the same time, these are such huge events. I think in Cannes, there are, I don't know, more than 20,000 accreditations. I know, I mean, Brazil is huge. You are a lot of people, you're used to that. But when you are doing business or trying to do business in a place where it's like so full of people, it requires a lot of preparation and strategy to go there, money, because costs are high. So, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's hard to see the immediate results when attending these markets. This doesn't, I would not say that you shouldn't go. I would just, I think that today what we can try to see is what we can do to go as prepared as possible, no? And what we can do to minimize the risks for our companies and projects when thinking of attending these bigger markets. I'm gonna start now. I told you that I would like to go to talk about festivals and markets, and the process, of course, it's a different process because of the status of the project that when we are like aiming to go to a festival, I'm referring to put our projects, to submit our projects to a festival to be selected and be shown in a festival. I'm not, sorry, let me say it again. So my point here is that we are going to start thinking of how we can position our films to festival programs to get our films seen, not to attend ourselves as professionals to a festival. Because one of the, as I was saying, what we need or at least what for international art house films, festivals are key to get some kind of distribution deal. So what we want to understand today is what does these people looking for? How can I approach these programmers? How can I make my project interesting for these people who, these programmers, these selection committees, these curators who are selecting? We have to think of different elements. Of course, festivals are looking for artistic quality, and every time we hear more and more this word innovation, which is hard to define for me, because it's, at the end of the day, the films are, I mean, can be innovative in terms of language, but we are also seeing that audiences are sometimes not responding to the way that we would like to this innovation. Of course, these events are many times linked to cultural elements of the places that are celebrated. So there are some events that are looking to select, let's say, films that are close to the place where these events are being held, or completely opposite. They are looking to have a window to the world for the people who attend these festivals that usually they don't, a reality that you wouldn't see in your daily life. One of the most important elements that we will discuss is the premiere status of the films. And then again, like festivals, they have their own editorial lines, they have their own identity. So we need to understand which is this festival's identity to understand if our project fits the editorial line. Who dictates which are the important events? No? Who is saying, like, why is this festival more important than another one? Why, for example, I would do an investment to go to a specific market linked to a festival? Well, there is the FIAP. FIAP is a Federation of Independent Producers, that they do this process of evaluation and classification of festivals around the world. We have this category, which is called competitive festivals, that we know popularly as A-class festivals. The FIAP, they don't like that we call like this, the A-class, but it's this list that has not changed a lot in the years. For example, Moscow was here, now it's not here anymore. There are some new events. For example, Tallinn joined, I mean, it's already some years, but maybe it was one of the last to join this list, also Fajar. So why did they select these festivals to be part of this list? There is, of course, the, let's say, a reputation of these festivals that they gain throughout the years. There's a lot of festivals that are already more than 70 years, 80 years. They are old institutions that have been working and promoting cinema for a lot of years. But this list also looks to have a kind of a diversity in geography, like where these events are being held. So maybe if you compare, I mean, of course in Europe we have strong ones, but they also looked to have this diversity in the geography, to have strong festivals also in Asia. In here, there is Mar del Plata. But yeah, so in China, Shanghai. So there is also this willing from this association to kind of have a worldwide representation of these events. Then we have other two big festivals that are considered non-competitive, because they don't have like a big competition, although they might Toronto gives some awards, but they are not like the main competitive sections, all of the festival. Then we have another category called specialized festivals, which are these festivals that have some specialization or some focus. For example, Sitges in Spain is a fantastic film festival, same as Fantastic Fest in Canada. We have, for example, Malaga, which focus on films in Spanish language or produced in Spain. Cinema Jove, it's also a Spanish one, focus on like young directors. Sofia has also focused on first and second films. So these are these events that have a specific or look for specificity in their projects. And then we have last one, the list of documentary film festival and short films, where we have specifically of shorts. We have Clermont, Tampere, and Oberhausen, and Krakow and Zinebi share documentary and short film. They select both. This list helps us understand why some festivals get this classification, but it's important, at least the way that we use this list as sales agent when we strategize on where to put our films, where could be nice places to premiere our films. We always take into account these lists because they help us understand like what to prioritize. No, because I think the main challenge when we have a film that is ready to premiere, and maybe it's quite an open film that is aimed to a wider audience, it's hard to think, okay, what's more interesting, to go to first submit to Rome or maybe to go to Torino in Italy? Like how can we make these decisions? Well, this is a list that can help us at least give some ground to our decisions. Popularly, there is these 5 festivals here that we call the Big Five. So these are like the 5 top festivals in the world. I have to say that Toronto is unfortunately maybe losing a little bit of status. Personally, I hope that it's not the case. Now they are even doing a new market this year. So I think that they are really trying to make the project stronger and appealing for professionals. But this would be like this is like the 5 top festivals that we all of us, I think, put in our list when we want to distribute premiere our film. Also, just keep in mind that it's it's impossible to be in all these festivals. Like your film cannot be in all these festivals because of premiere regulations that we can see after. But like Venice is always going to ask for a world premiere, so then you cannot have your film in Cannes and Venice at the same time. So that's things that is like choosing or well, it will depend on the status and the calendar of your project, of course. But yeah, this is like this list that dictates a little bit the hot and most important festivals. This presentation you can download at the end. So here you have links to access directly to the accredited festivals and the program that explains a little bit the regulations. Sometimes it's interesting to read this also to understand why some festivals are being added to this list, some are being removed. So it's interesting as professionals to do this reading sometimes. What else can we use when we plan our strategies? Thinking of okay, maybe our goal is not to go to the Oscars, but still, the Oscars and many of the awards like EFA. I have a lot of things that I know they are European, but I also wanted to keep it here because I thought that you might also be co-producing. So I think it's also interesting that you have this information. But many of the awards work, when you want to apply to these awards, you have to fulfill regulations, of course, but also you have to have had your film selected in some specific festivals. So for example, here I put you as an example the list of the Oscars, the list of the EFA, the European Film Awards, and they do a differentiation, for example, in the feature film festivals that qualify, the documentary festivals that qualify, and the short film festivals that qualify. But for example, if you have a fantastic film, a genre film, you could look at the Méliès. Méliès is specifically the award for fantastic films, and they have a specific list. And for example, I put you the Brazilian, I hope this is the right information, but for example, I saw that in the Brazilian case, there is only a list for like short films that you need to have had your short to be able to apply for the award. So of course, there is every academy around the world, like this, I'm Spanish, so Goya Awards, we have our own list in each country, but most of them are very similar. So this list, especially for the ones that you work with short films, are very useful to make this, to make our strategy, because like there are so many festivals around the world that these lists help us to prioritize where to start our strategy. Or maybe if we get 2 invitations, to say, okay, maybe I will accept this one because this festival qualifies for the awards. But at the same time, when we do this, when we think, I mean, we can use this list, but we never should forget, sorry, I have another list here. I will go through this quickly. I also, you should never forget, actually, that makes sense, the topic of your film, or if your film is specifically aimed to an audience, or is specifically about a specific genre or like topic, because then we have all these festival networks that actually work, as I said, as a network, and they are, the programmers share a lot of the films. So, for example, if you have an indigenous film, for example, we had 2 titles that were, one was a Norwegian film about the Sami community, and the other one was actually a Brazilian film called O Estranho that was portraying the Guarulhos airport and all the indigenous communities that lived before they built the airport. And so it's interesting for us, it was key to check this network of festivals. And once you get into this network, you can really see that the programmers talk to each other and these programmers share titles. So it's interesting to this work and think, okay, I have this film that is about an indigenous community specifically, and also deals about human rights. This could be 2 lists that could be very interesting for us to not only have a strategy that incorporates all these festivals that are important because there is someone who said they are important, but these ones could be, for example, the ones that are really wanting specifically the film for the content that your film deals with. So I would always recommend you to do this exercise, to try to think what's in my film in terms of topic, in terms of format, if it's of course a short film, if it's a doc. It's an LGBTQ film, for example, in San Sebastian. Every year there is a meeting of festivals, queer festivals from Latin America. So all those festivals that attend that meeting could be like part of your festival strategy if you have a film that deals with broader and longer list. Because in terms of percentage, for example, for short films, we can submit. Right now, we can submit our film to more than 200 short film festivals and get 20 selections, 25. Whereas before COVID, my experience was that I would submit to 100 festivals and I would already have 20, 30 selections. So this is changed a lot before COVID and after COVID, because there was a lot of films that couldn't be released, and there was like kind of everyone, I don't know the word in English now, a bottleneck, that's what I was looking for. And this was just, of course, because of COVID, but then also I think that what the tendency and the trends, what we are seeing is that there is a lot more money invested always in production than in distribution. So Luckily, and I'm not going to complain because I think that we need the funds always, but we see many films produced and not like a small percentage of them being distributed. So this is like, I think, a trend that is happening a lot. For example, me, I'm from Spain, as I was saying. We are quite in a good moment in terms of funding and development, but again, the films don't get seen because we are all stuck there when it comes to the distribution. Even if we get some distribution funds, it's not balanced. So yeah, that's in terms of percentage or what I was telling you is like that you really need to have these strategies that are specific, but at the same time big enough that will allow you to try enough festivals, so that will translate to sometimes just a few selections that still can be like very meaningful for your films. Yeah, I was already like going a little bit further, I see, with my presentation, but okay, it's 3. Okay, we can start this part. That's the exercise that we do every time we get a film. That's an exercise that you could do in each stage of a project, because there is now, we have learned, I would say, now that every time we have strategies that we need to keep revisiting and reviewing every time that our project moves forward. We all have been told to do these exercises that we will see now, like who is our audience, like SWOT analysis, all these kind of things. But there is, if we don't go back and revise these strategies, at least every time we, close a deal, we get some financing, we do a new version of the script. Like there are different, you should kind of find key moments in your projects that to revisit like this strategy. What we are going to see now is all these different steps from the analysis of the project until the release. We are going to have a break in 3 minutes, so I'm just going to start and we see how far we go, and then we will continue after the break. But yeah, the analysis, that's a very typical marketing exercise that also is very, now we could say that has also transformed to this new concept that it's the audience design. And here I would like you to really think of what we talked before about the B2B audience. So I know that many of you have done this exercise thinking of who is going to watch your film when you release it in the cinema. I would like you to think now of like on the B2B. So when you do a SWOT analysis, when you do a benchmarking, who is this target audience? I'm not thinking of like my mom, 67 years old, like Spanish woman, like whatever, she's retired, she has time to go to the cinema. No, I would like to think you, for example, about me. I'm a sales agent, I'm looking for new films. Which kind of films I'm looking for? Which kind of films are in my catalog? Like this audience, when you have a project that is still in development, but until the moment that you are going to be releasing it, you need to find these partners, and these partners are what I'm referring here as our target audience with our project. But the same if you are, I don't know, you're a filmmaker, you have a project and you want to look to find a producer. Like who is your target producer? Like to do this exercise, thinking about the professionals that are gonna work with us, holding hands projects. So that's the exercise that you have to do. You have to think about who is this professional audience for your project. And then, yeah, so you would do the basic SWOT analysis. You would think about all these elements of your projects, but again, connected to who do you need now? Do you need a distributor? Let me think about what's the strength of my project. My project, for example, is aimed at young audiences. Right now, there is a need for for content for young audiences. This is the strength of my project, but what could be a weakness? For example, in my case, I'm from Catalonia, we speak Catalan. Catalan as a language could be maybe a weakness for the international market. Okay, because is it if I have to convince a distributor to acquire my film, I need to know that maybe he's going to come to me and say, but your film is in Catalan. Like, this makes things complicated. And then I'm going to say, yeah, but it's animation and we can adapt to your language. Then I have an argument to, let's say, discuss with them. So all these exercises, yeah, do it thinking about the partners that you need to make your projects. Benchmarking, this is one of the key exercises that you should do. Even if I'm sure that your projects are great and you have great ideas, but it's very difficult to be unique right now. Like, there's many things being made. So don't be ashamed, or well, ashamed maybe it's not the word, but don't worry to actually like check what other people is doing and copy the strategy that work. Because I was told, like, recently by Gabor by Films Boutique, who is actually quite a big sales agency. He said, he was teaching us a workshop, and he said that there is a 30% of uncertainty that we don't know what's going to happen with our project. So maybe we copy the same strategy as a super successful film has done, and still there is a big percentage of things that we cannot control, and we really don't know why it didn't work. And this is 100% for me connected to the audience, because there is a distance from the creators and our industry to the final people who should go to watch our films. Unfortunately, we are still in this process of trying to find ways to understand what does the people want to watch, how can we really communicate with them. And there is this big percentage, so you always have to think that there is not like a formula, but still, I am pro like copying and like seeing what my other fellow producers are doing. Of course, you need to find a uniqueness on the way you communicate, on the way that you promote your projects, because we don't want to do all the same, but there is not much room sometimes to do things differently, because our industries are regulated. There are all these windows that I showed you. There are all these festivals that have these structures. There are deadlines. There is many things that we cannot change. So I would really like encourage you to do these benchmarking exercises and like really try to find the detailed information about, okay, in this film, it went to Cannes. Okay, but how did it went to Cannes? Who was the sales agent? What did this sales agent do? I don't know, which markets did the film attend? Was it shown, for example? Did it had a market screening? I don't know, maybe in Ventana Sur before getting a selection in Berlin? Like, who was in that audience in Ventana Sur who watched that film in that work in progress that made then maybe the film be selected for Berlinale next year? So all these, we will see some examples at the end, but this is an exercise that I really recommend you to do. To go, check, take this project that you think is similar to what you do, and do this analysis on the B2B level, and who are the partners of this project, who helped them get to the point that they got. And then, again, we have the last exercise, that it's about the positioning, which is, it's like writing synopsis or loglines for your film, but again, talking to this professional audience. Imagine that you work with the next feature of like a short filmmaker that was at, for example, here at Bafisi. I'm just gonna say Argentinian festival, and you want to find a producer in Argentina. Definitely in your positioning, you are gonna say, the filmmaker I work with had the short at Bafisi, like, because this is an element that sells this talent to him or her, to my future partner. So, but maybe this argument, this positioning, I'm never going to use when I'm trying to find my co-producer in France, or when I'm trying to raise funding in Brazil, because that's something that it's not maybe as important for these other partners. So also don't be afraid of changing or having different positionings, different selling points of your project when you talk to these different audiences. And this, I want to go back to what we talked about, the stage of the project and the territory. You will need to do this many times. Sometimes we have this thing of like, okay, that's my log line, that's it. I go, all my dossiers look the same, all my pitch decks look the same, I have the meetings and I have exactly the same information. No, like really, like do this, because what it's gonna convince me, for example, is very different of what is gonna convince another sales. And you can know that just by looking at the type of projects that we work, the type of markets that we attend. Yeah, and this is, again, this is an exercise that you could also do then thinking of the final audience. So it's very useful, and I recommend you to do it like keep doing it. Every time you have a new script, every time you need to apply for funds, this is like very useful. Again, all these, we think of benchmarking that we have already talked. There is a lot of research. There is a lot of elements that we need to know before addressing these future partners, or before actually attending these markets and festivals that we want to attend. We will need partners that are going to be the sales agents and distributors. These people are going to take the rights for the whole world, or take only like territorial rights. Of course, there is going to be a workshop about contracts. I'm not going to like go deep in here, but my point here would be traditionally, you should get these people on board as soon as possible, or like ideally, that's what every project wants, or every producer wants, to get a sales on board early, to get a distributor on board early. Ideally, we want these people to put money in the films, to pay these famous MGs that are less and every time being paid less or not being paid at all. What I see right now, the reality, what is happening, and I'm sorry because I think it's something that the sales agent, we are doing too much, and it's not helping the producers. But now sales are not taking many risks to acquire films before knowing where the film is going to premiere. So if you find a sales that is really interested in your project, already like in the development, on the production stage, of course you need to evaluate if it's the right partner, but usually this means that they are very interested in your project. Because for us right now, to take projects that we don't know where they are going to premiere, and the aim is to sell this film, it's a huge risk, because the market has it's like very small right now. The possibilities to sell are getting smaller. So if you are lucky to find partners when you are still in development production, usually this translates to strong interest, or someone that at least is going to make a huge effort to put your project out there. But unfortunately, the tendencies that we are seeing is that we only commit once we know where the film is going to premiere. So you will find sometimes this situation that you have a film, you show it to a sales agent. This person is supposed to do the job of putting your film at a festival to finding a premiere. But sometimes you will get these answers like, I really like your film, but please come back to me when you have a festival confirmed. And that's what I said, that I'm really sorry. We try not to do it, but it's unfortunately a practice that we are seeing now, because there is not many room to take risks for sales specifically. One other thing that I want to say, that not all films are going to sell, that this doesn't mean that the films are not successful. We have at More Than Films, we have films that we don't sell, but have like, I don't know, a very nice festival career. And for me, that film is still successful, because that specific film has not the commercial elements to be sold, because it's risky in the form, because it's, I don't know, 3 hours long, because it's too a topic that it's maybe super niche, and it's not, for the distributors, it's not worth, let's say, or it's too risky to put it for commercial release. Still, this doesn't mean that the film, so I'm going to put it the other way. Not all films are going to be sold. Like, it's right now in the market, but this doesn't mean that the films are not successful. So sometimes what happens is that there is a specific group of sales agents that only work with films that are going to be sold. And these sales agents only go to markets that allow them to sell the films. And at the same time, are only going to pick films that are selected in those specific festivals. There are other types of sales that we work with other goals, or we still are interested in other types of distribution that we still could find. We have room in our catalog, let's say, to work with films that are aimed only for the festival circuit. But yeah, again, these contracts that you're going to sign with these partners. So these are the key partners that you need to make your film international, the sales agents. Many times there are films that don't have sales, and they are able to make all the way until they get a very nice premiere, and then all the sales go after that film. So what I want to say about this is that usually the producers, you have the capacity, or you have like such a strong power and opportunities to make your films travel without these partners. Because what we have seen now, that producers are more and more having this role of distributing their own projects. And I've seen experiences from producers who have much better results, for example, than I could have, because you understand the project very, very good. So when you need to close deals with these partners, try to find someone that really, really understands your project, because, yeah, like no one ever is going to take as good care as you of the projects. So you really need to make sure that these people really wants to work with your project. Again, yeah. What else can we research? Of course, we have already talked about this a little bit, but the festivals. How can I put it? Well, so the distribution and it has some costs associated. If you work with the sales, they are going to be taking care of this cost and then deducting it from the income of the film. But I would still always recommend you, when you are working, budgeting your film, to keep some budget for the festivals. Because until the moment you get a sales on board, you might need to do this job yourselves. So take into account that festivals, for example, Submit to Berlin, it's more than 150 euros. I'm sure that you all have seen these crazy fees. The festivals in the United States also super expensive. So you need to actually, make this work of researching, and how much is it going to cost me to apply to these 10 festivals that I really want to try. What are the sections that these festivals have? Are they competitive? Am I able to win an award? No. Would maybe they give me prestige because this festival section, I don't know, has historically been programmed like let's say like up and coming and rising filmmakers that have had then great festival and distribution careers. All these are elements that you need to research. The premiere requirement actually is the one that is always more relevant, maybe, because you will need to think of like which are the festivals that require worldwide premieres, meaning the film has not been seen anywhere before. Some festivals only require an international premiere. I'm gonna like use Brazil as an example. If you produce a film that is 100% Brazilian, you can show, for example, and you want to put your film in a festival out there that requires international premiere, you can show your film previously in Brazil, and then the festival outside of Brazil will be the international premiere. This gets a little bit tricky when we have co-productions. Imagine you co-produce Brazil, Portugal, Spain, you get selected in Malaga. You can play that Malaga is the national premiere of the film still because it's a co-production country. What happens, for example, many festivals in the regulations, they have written, we accept international premieres, but then you check the selection, they only select world premieres. So there is always the, like every time festivals are being more and more tricky with premiere requirements. Yeah, again, unfortunately, even though the regulations might say, yes, your film is eligible, in practice, many of the big festivals would still always want world premieres. Then another kind of premiere that we went from world to international. Then there are the regional premieres. That, for example, in Europe, we have, I don't know, now I have a short film that is going to be playing a drama in Greece. So they asked me, is this film a Balkans premiere? So meaning like all the Balkans countries, or this also happens to the Baltic countries, or like even like Latin American premiere, that could be also like regional. These are all elements that you need to research. Then there is, of course, the national premiere that is in the country of production. You could have, in the States, for example, United States, there is a lot of, it's very common to have state premieres. So you can have a film has been shown in Arizona, but still not in Minnesota or still not in California. So you have the state premieres. And then you also have like local premieres. So for example, city of Sao Paulo, city of Rio, Barcelona, Madrid. Some festivals only ask for that specific premiere. And then some festivals don't ask for any premieres. But these are all elements that you need to really take into account. I would also like really recommend you to check the websites and see which kind of films, even though if you don't get to see the film, you get to read the synopsis, you get to read, for example, genre, like in Cannes, for example, we have seen in the recent years, there is kind of a bias to genre films. We think of The Substance, but also like The House That Jack Built, like all these, Titan, all these films that, for me, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would say, no, these are not films for Cannes because these are like too specific of a niche audience. And well, Cannes is kind of making this genre now more popular for at least distributors. And we have seen more and more films being released that are not anymore niche and now are just like for the wide audience because they were in Cannes. So of course, these things change. That's why you need to really keep yourself informed. And of course, what's nice is actually to go to the festivals and watch the films. But this is, of course, we all want to do that, and it's too much time and money. But yeah, this would be already like very nice to do this research. Again, you will need to think, even if this would be the job of the sales to close these deals or the distributor. I would also recommend you to think about, like which are the TVs that could be interesting in showing my film, the online platforms, streaming platforms, educational, like companies that work with educational rights. This, again, the way that we usually find this information is by checking what other films have done. So by copying or like, seeing the strategies of other films. And finally, really check, like to be part of these international events, to be in festivals, to send your film to the right programmer, or to attend, I don't know, like a market. We in the film world, and now I would say in many, not the whole world, but like many countries, have some kind of institution that is doing this job or helping us to do this job. If I think of Brazil, I know it's an association, so you have to be members. But for example, Cinema do Brasil, when they go to markets, they have their own booth. And in that booth, I've seen in the past years that they invite programmers, for example, the programmer from Sundance. And that person comes there, gets to meet the producers, explains what they want, what they are looking for, how can you approach them, how can you send your film. This is a key, and it's made because the institutions have, let's say, already the tools and the resources to bring these people closer to you. Don't hesitate to ask these institutions, like to join their newsletters, to really like get to know this person who is doing the job. There's usually someone who is in charge of the international promotion of the films of these specific countries. So that's always key. And one of the things that some of these countries do is that they get the famous waivers. So these are when you have to submit to a festival, you have to usually to pay. That's something that, unfortunately, again, I'm sorry I'm saying this word a lot, but some years ago festivals had more resources, so you don't need to pay to show them your film. Now they ask for this, well, they always have asked, but now more festivals ask for festival submission fees, what we call. That's what I mentioned here, no? These fees, if for me to show the film to Berlinale, it will cost me 150 euros. But maybe, I don't know, I'm just gonna put the example of Catalonia because I'm from there. Catalan films, they have an agreement with Berlinale, and they get, for example, 50% discount. So me as a producer or as a filmmaker, I would make sure that Catalan Films or Cinema do Brasil or any of these institutions knows that I have a film that is ready to be premiered and that I want to present to Berlin. And they might be able to give me this discount or a waiver code that then you don't pay any money. And not only the money is important, but what they have is contact with programmers. So for example, the example I put about Cinema do Brasil, you know you are a huge country, but yeah, like if the institution knows that your film is ready to be premiered and you can show your film to them before, and you can tell them, look, I have this short, I have done my research, I think that this short could really, really fit Locarno, for example. Do you have contact with Locarno? I'm sure they will have a meeting with Locarno and they can mention, or maybe not only specifically like are going to pitch your film because they cannot do that, they are institutions, but they can kind of make awareness of your project to these international people. And usually, because the film industry, it works a lot about matchmaking, that's the work of this institution also is to do matchmaking. So they will, if you have a film that is a documentary and they might be in a documentary market, they have the possibility or they have the tools to make these programmers aware of the documentary projects that are being made. For example, it's also the other way back, the thing that we are experiencing right now here. The projects that are going to be shown in the work in progress in the next few days here that have been supported for the institution that organizes this market, they have invited some of us to specifically be in these rooms to watch these projects. So it's really the job of the institutions to make your projects visible. So don't hesitate to inform them on the status of your projects and what are your goals with these projects. Again, something that I didn't say and it's key is when you do this work, you don't do this yourselves alone. Maybe sometimes you are a filmmaker, you are writing, you still don't have a producer, okay, you're gonna start doing this on your own. But this should be done with as many people involved in the project as possible. So if you are a screenwriter and a director, you're working together, should think about this together with the producer. Eventually, if you already have a national distributor, they should be also joining these conversations. And I know this might be a little bit naive sometimes, well, or like idealistic because people is very busy, but I know from like the experience that when we join, we put together all these people to discuss these things, then you set goals that are realistic, that match everyone's expectations, and you are much more able to handle like these processes and also deal with the frustration that might happen later, because what for me, the worst thing as a distributor, what happens to me sometimes is that I start working with a film, and the producer and the filmmaker, they have very different ideas of what is going to happen with the film. And of course, it's our job also to put them in the same page, but you realize that, wow, like they have different goals, and there's only one film. So we need to do this really and understand each other's needs and expectations, because that's, we need, let's say I would say everyone needs to push to the same directions, because if one pushes the project one side, the other another side, we need, like, that's not gonna work, because there's a lot of competition. So really don't, like, take time to discuss these things with your partners, because it's key. Okay, I finished this slide. Okay, I'm gonna stop now here for the break. We have 30 minutes, right? Okay, and we will continue later. Thank you. Okay, so let's continue. Thank you for coming back. Yeah. So we were at the point that we did all that research to understand who could be our partners, who could be, or in which festivals could our film fit. And then again, we need to really make this strategy, put this down. We have already been talking with some of you in the break that even we have all these tools and we do this research, there's still sometimes big question marks to really see like, okay, is it better to accept this festival or wait for another one? There is always going to be some things that we cannot control and we cannot know. I'm going to go quite quickly through this slide because we have already talked about this, but again, goals. You need to set realistic goals, even if you are ambitious, like be realistic, because that's, I mean, I'm sure, and I'm sure that you're going to do many films, or at least not only one. So maybe the goals that you have as a career for you as a producer, you as a director, are more ambitious than the real results that you are going to have with your first film. But this doesn't mean that it cannot happen with the second project, or it cannot happen if you maybe do a minority co-production. So don't put all your expectations in just one project. And yeah, and again, make these goals to be kind of agreed with everyone else in your team, because these films are not, even if there is one director or one vision, films are teamwork, so goals have to also be like the goals of a team. Again, save some money, because in the time that you will find your partners for distribution, you might need to already start investing in these submissions, in these trips to festivals, in attending these markets. Think of, like what we have talked, the premieres. And then another element that maybe we have not discussed that I would like to bring to your attention is the lifetime of a film. It's told popularly that the film has a lifespan of around 2 years when it starts the festival premiere until it gets to already like commercial release, or it loses a little bit like this momentum. For shorts, it's specifically 2 years. For feature films, it really depends on the distribution deals that you manage to get, because usually the lifetime of a film goes much quicker in the country of production than the co-production markets. For example, I'm going to use as an example a film that I'm distributing. It's called Hanami. It's a Switzerland, Portuguese, Cape Verdean co-production. The film premiered in Locarno last year. Right now, the film has already been in cinemas in Switzerland and Portugal because they are the countries of production. But the deals that we managed to close, that are Germany, Brazil, it's going to be distributed by Immovision. You can go to the cinema and watch it. And Draken Film in Sweden, wherever. Like these 3-4 other countries that we managed to sell, these releases are going to be either end of this year or start of next year. And the film still is in festivals, but we know that the festival life is going to end very soon. And the film, and it's going to be 1 year in August, but we already feel that, yeah, that the film is, that there are many films coming now after Cannes, and already Locarno now, it's going to happen. So our film is going to, it's going to be old like this in a week, you know? So this is unfortunately what happens right now. But then there are all these other festivals that I was telling you, all these other smaller events that you should not forget about, that are going to help your film to be seen for like more people and during a longer time. Even if they were not in your main strategy, you should have them, you should know them for like the next steps. And that is something that I would also tell you that it happens sometimes when you work with sales. We usually put a lot of effort in that first year, but then sometimes, yeah, we pick new films and then the market change. There is not like a new wave of films. Sometimes you as a producer, you will need to do again this work when already the film has been 1 year in festivals. If you want your film to be in maybe smaller events, unfortunately, sometimes it's not interesting for the sales companies. In our company, for us, it's very important because we need these partners, even if they are like the tiniest events. But some sales, they could tell you, okay, we are going to focus on these festivals because they're the festivals that bring sales. And after that, if you can continue, of course, the job of promoting yourself, your film, but we are not going to be submitting or sending the film to these smaller events. Again, when does this life start? It starts in the moment that your film premiere. Sometimes we start our festival submission process, and it takes 1 year for us to get accepted to a festival. That year, I never counted. For me, our films start like existing in the festivals the moment it premieres. So I start counting this time at that moment. This still, you need to be careful because even though the film has not been shown, you have been showing the film to programmers. And all these programmers, there's many programmers that work for like one person working for different festivals. And what you should be careful is not to burn your film, showing it to many programmers if your goal is to be selective. So I'm going to put an example to make it more clear. I'm going to put an example of a short film I was working. The director and the producers were really wanted to try to these big 5 festivals that we talked. I started working with the film in November 2020, sorry, and we started submitting to Berlin. Didn't get to Berlin, we didn't get to Rotterdam, we didn't get to Cannes, neither of the 3 sections. We didn't get to Venice, we didn't get to Locarno. We got in Toronto. It was like our last festival from this very selective strategy. What would have happened if Toronto wouldn't have selected our film? It was risky because we had been showing the film already for a year. What was our strategy? We only will show to these 5 festivals. Then any of the other smaller, still very nice festivals, no one still had seen our film. So then we started the second bunch of festivals, and we showed to Clermont, to Malaga in Spain, to film festivals that are key for our shorts, but none of them had already seen it. That was a risky strategy. It worked because Toronto was big enough to give a push to the film. I have had experience that was completely the other way. We tried this, and it was not working. Then we had been waiting for a year, no premiere secured. What happened during that year? That we started saying no to some smaller festivals. Then that festivals, of course, we cannot send the film again. That's something that you really need to think about. It's the one of the nicest things about having a sales or a distributor is because we do this bad job of telling a festival, no, we don't accept your invitation. But it's not nice, let's say, to say no. It's never nice. You can do it because sometimes, we are talking about the film that you have a strategy, so it's not that you just say no because you don't want. It's because you have a strategy, but you have to be careful with this. So if you choose to have a very selective strategy, you will need to be super patient and understand that you have a risk of not getting selected to these 5 festivals, which are extremely competitive. You have to think that only Berlinale received more than 4,000 short films only. But even smaller festivals, what was I'm not going to remember now. There was a Spanish festival that they told me they received 3,000 shorts, and it's only it's not that international event, and they already received this amount. So there is a probability sometimes, only taking into account numbers, that our film cannot make it to the final selection. So to have this such a selective and specific strategies, you need to really assure that you have the elements that give you some ground to this decision, especially when talking with shorts, because there are a lot of films. But also, I would say for feature films, for first-time filmmakers, you need to really, really assess good this strategy, and also be confident and have the patience to wait all the time that requires to get the answers of the curators. But again, the life of the film is going to be dictated by the deadlines of these festivals. When can you submit the film? And then, of course, the festival that will accept and where you will hold the premiere of your film. Some of you in the break had asked me like similar questions about when to approach sales and when is and how to, how can we make sure that our film could fit their profile. There is going to be a talk tomorrow in the morning with Florencia Rey. I really recommend you to come because it's going to be only specifically about this topic. But just to say something quick now, for the ones that you might not come, we always want the film when no one else, when it has not been shown. Like the most of the sales, we want to be the first ones to work with the film. We don't like, let's say, to build on the strategy that someone else has done, except of the producers, because of course you have a strategy, you have been pushing the film. But it's tricky because it's like a very specific moment when we don't want to take too much risk, but we want to be the first ones to have the film. So this is how it happens. For example, we still pick films when we saw them in the festivals. So for us, festivals is still a place to discover talent and to catch these films that no one has already yet seen, and they are at that moment that we can still do something. But it's very important for you to understand that if we are not present in the moment of the premiere, we lose a lot of chances to promote the film, position it in the market, and sell it. Because imagine that you have your film in Rotterdam, and the sales company is not attached to the project yet, and then you contact me after Rotterdam. I choose the moment. I lost that moment to be in Rotterdam and like push the film when it's happening, do all the promotion work, all the communication that we do. So if you have a premiere confirmed, really like take time to send many emails, because if you have a premiere, we are always going to watch the film. The complicated is when you still don't have it, then it might take more time for a sales agent, but if there is a premiere confirmed in a strong festival, and even if it's not like one of the biggest, but it's relevant enough, we are going to quickly watch and we're going to give you an answer. But again, like come tomorrow because Florencia is going to give a 3-hour workshop only on this. And this again comes the moment of the submission or to present the film. This is something that is key. Sometimes we have the projects that are not ready yet. I mean, you have a project thinking now, for example, next big festivals of next year, for example, Berlin. Berlin usually closes the submission in October, November for shorts. You have a film in post-production. If you want to go to Berlin, I mean, don't wait until the final deadline. And if for any reason you cannot send the film yet because you are in the editing room and you know you are going to be like arrive to the deadline like very, very tight, talk to the programmers before. Let them know that you are going to do that submission, that it's going to come last minute, but it's going to come. Because it happens more and more that the programmers or the selection committees, they start picking films super early. Sometimes you talk to a programmer, I don't know, of Cannes in Berlin, and they have already selected, well, they don't tell you, but you know they have already 5, 6 films that they won. And it's like, okay, there's no, only like, for example, Semaine de la Critique, think that they only have 7 slots for feature films. 7. It's like, and how many films they receive? I don't know, like thousands. I don't even know. So imagine this, you are a short filmmaker, you had a film at Semaine, you do your feature is great, they want your feature, they want to keep supporting you. That's already one spot that is not available for the rest of the world. So the festivals also have this, this thing of like that, which is actually very nice at the same time, that they try to support the talents that they had as a short filmmakers, and they might do the feature, or like keep doing shorts. It's not that it makes a difference, or at least for me, it's all cinema. But you have to think of all these elements that are, we cannot control. Even if we do the greatest strategy and we have the greatest film, there's a problem of room in our industry. But this is something that can maybe help us a little bit to send the films early. And one of the things that also we do as a sales agent, but you can also do as producers. For example, right now I have a film that I already sent to Rotterdam. I know Rotterdam is in February. They still have to watch thousands of films, but they have already seen mine. I now start to feel the pressure because the film is not getting selected to other festivals. And I will start to ask feedback to Rotterdam very soon. And I will tell them, have you watched my film? And they might tell me, like, it's still early. But I say, okay, in 2 weeks, have you watched my film? I really need an answer. If they like your film, some festivals, I'm going to, especially, for example, Rotterdam, we had the luck that they have bet on our film very early. And they have confirmed our film like I think it was 5 months before the festival. Because the film, ITFA wanted the film. ITFA is in Amsterdam, Rotterdam is in Rotterdam, both are in the Netherlands. Both asked for the premiere in the country. We got the film invited to ITFA. That was the way we could go to Rotterdam and tell them, look, the film, they want this film, do you also want it? And they say yes. We decided to go to Rotterdam because different reasons. Of course, we were so sorry to say no to ITFA because it's a festival that we love. In that case, I'm going to exactly give you the reason why. In ITFA, it was part of the Best of Fest, which is a section that it's like films that have already had success in many festivals. So are like films that they are very nice for the audiences because usually it's a section that you will see the films that have been traveling to many festivals. For us, it was too early to be in that section because our film just premiered in Locarno. We didn't want it to be in November in Best of Fest. We wanted to have another year of life before we were considered a film that is a Best of Fest already. It was a tough decision. We decided to go for this. But these are the different, these are tricks that sometimes you can use. And don't be scared to contact programmers because they are very much wanting to talk to filmmakers. If you are directors in the room, they love to talk to you before than talking to me. Many times, programmers, they don't reply to me and they reply to the director because they have really like this relationship with the directors. They really trust and want to support their work. We are more of like, people who help them, but it's not the same relationship. So really, like even with producers also, because you producers, you are also talent, you are creative producers, the programmers really want to have a relationship with you. So in this kind of context is where you should approach them. From small festivals to like bigger festivals, because again, one of the problems with our industry for programmers is that unfortunately their job is very precarious. It's one of the worst jobs. Like there's many festivals who don't pay their selection committees. It's just because it's an honor to be selected for those festivals, but they don't pay them. But so these people works, my point here is that they work for many other festivals. So maybe you meet someone from a smaller festival that will end up programming for Berlin next year, or like will end up like being, I don't know, the next artistic director of like a festival in another country. So you will see many times, if you see the profiles of the programmers, they are linked to many, many festivals. So I'm sorry for them that they have to work in many festivals, but it's really like, it's nice to be close to them because you really understand what they are looking for. Yeah, this is exactly what I have here at the networking part. And again, when you do this work, when you approach either a sales, either a programmer, when you do the submission, work on these materials. Have work on your press kit. Have send stills that are like nice quality. Trailers, of course, are not mandatory for this stage, but if you have some kind of teaser, some kind of mood board. For us, for example, for me, it's very useful when I receive an email and I see a link to a teaser and I watch it. I already get like the feeling and I say, okay, this is something that I want to watch. It helps. I reply right away. If I don't see any dossier, nothing visual, sometimes it's like, oof, this email, I have a film, do you want to watch it? Okay, tell me something, you know, like send me something that convinces me. Work also on the directors, like producers, you should make the directors. I know you work a lot with the scripts, but also don't forget about these texts, because these are the texts that we usually read. More than even a script sometimes. They are the texts that are going to convince us to then go and read the script. So invest time, have a screener ready, and make sure that you have subtitles in English if you really want to put your film internationally. I would even say for short films, for example, French subtitles are also interesting because many festivals in France ask for them still, because they are a little bit old school. But anyway, yeah, English are the ones that you really, really need to have. And then if it comes the moment of the festival release, again, you need to revise all these materials that we are talking about. And one of the key, well, there are two things now that everyone is starting to do in festivals. If you have the premiere in a festival that has a big market, and you need a PR. That's one of the most expensive costs when it comes to the release of a film in a festival. What happens, that I'm telling you, because this is a cost that I'm sure Florencia will tell you tomorrow, but you will need to fight with the sales if you have a sales. Who is paying for this? Also, some institutions have these lines of support that are for attending markets or festivals, and usually this is a cost that you can incur in that funds. But the PR is the person who is going to be dealing with the press, and it's key, because it's key, but at the same time, for example, in my case, I only have had PRs in a couple of films because it's a very big cost and we cannot afford all the time. So don't worry. It's not that you are not going to make any results from the festival, but if for any reason for your film you really, really want to have a good press coverage, you will need this figure. Yeah, especially in festivals like Cannes, Berlin. For example, having films at smaller sections in Berlin, I had films at Forum. You don't get press coverage right away. You need to work for them to really find someone who is going to write about your film. Right now, even I was told that not even all the films in competition in Cannes get automatically reviewed. You need, like, the sales need to push, or the PRs need to push for the press people to write reviews. Not even in Cannes, that, like, how many films are in the competition? Come on, like, do your job. So because there's only focus now. If you think about, again, Cannes as an example, Cannes, you will have these titles that are already sold. You will see, like, I don't know, the new film, just going to think of an example. Like, I don't know if you saw this year, we have a film of Sirat of Oliver Lax. He's a Spanish filmmaker that has had quite a nice results from Cannes. And you will see, like, this film was sold already like 5-6 territories before the market. And then of course you have the bigger filmmakers that they sell. They go to the market and everything is sold. And I think, what are the sales agents going to do in Cannes? Like, they already sold the films. Then they say that, yeah, of course you have this. Then you have a couple of titles that are like the buzz of the market. And this year, actually, sorry, what I meant is, like, Sirat was one of the buzz of the market. It was not it was sold maybe to a couple of territories, but not that much. So then all the buyers are going after these two titles. Everyone. And then there are maybe other films that they are not going to be sold then, maybe later. Of course, if you are in the competition, you are going to sell your film. But the market works like this. Everyone, like, there's only like a couple of titles, 4 titles that get this momentum of the festival. The big ones are already sold. And the other ones, for example, this film that I was telling you, Hanami, we closed the deal of Germany 1 month ago. So it means 10 months after the festival premiere. We were 10 months, like, tick, 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 as a small sales, with a small film going after small distributors around the world. Can you please take the risk? Please watch my film. So deals can happen later, but what you have to understand, is don't get frustrated if during the market, even if you are premiering your film, I don't know, you have a very nice documentary, you go to Sheffield, you go to hot dogs, you come back and it's like, okay, what's the outcome? Right now, I don't know. It's hard to evaluate. I'm sure you will make many connections because that's actually the point of attending the markets. So don't stop going, but understand that these results, they need to translate to something also. Like, don't forget that this is a business. We need to live from this, so you need to kind of have some economical rewards that can be, like, coming from very different ways, but you need to make your business sustainable. But don't get stressed if it doesn't happen right during the markets, because the markets are saturated, like the market, the events, even the events. But yeah, so these people, PRs, can really make a difference when it comes to the outcome of the press. Again, reviewing, like, you have done a strategy, but then you have a lot of no's, some yeses. Go back and check imagine you have a film that is a hybrid, and you have a lot of selections at documentary festivals, but not a lot in fiction. That film has positioned kind of itself as a documentary, stronger than a fiction. Then maybe revisit your strategy and invest more money or invest more time submitting, presenting it to documentary film festivals. The results of all the no's are going to give you hints to understand where the film can fit. Even they are painful, but they help us guide. And after this release, you can start to put your film in these other windows. I'm not going to go deep in that. Of course, you need to, I would recommend you to try to do this first territory by territory. But if not, of course, the streaming, there is a mistake here. Streaming platforms are more and more wanting, like, global deals. So even if you work with a platform from Spain, they might ask you to get, like, because they try to expand sometimes. But I would always, if you close deals early, try to close deals with like geo-blocking, because if not, you are going to compromise the future of the film then with future opportunities. And then don't forget about, like, the other thing that people is really investing money when festival premiere now is the social media. There are companies that are now only specialized to help you do a social media campaign during the festival. And this brings actually results. It brings, you will feel like there is a more, people is talking more about your film, and that's, yeah, many things are happening on social media. But well, if you have the resources, try to find someone that takes care of this, because to do it in ourselves is a lot of work. So if you have a way to find these resources, I would recommend you to invest some money in this social media, like Instagram, TikTok, but yeah, like other, and I would say these two are the ones that people is putting more resources. Okay, we have half an hour. I will jump quickly. So this is like, I was focusing a lot in festivals, but there were a lot of elements that repeat when it comes to position these projects when they are still in development, still in financing in the markets. So again, in the markets, we don't have this list of like the key markets, but usually they are associated or linked to the big festivals. Of course, we have the Marché du Film in Cannes, EFM in Berlin, MIA market in, no, IDFA, Marché du Film Court in Clermont. These are all linked to big festivals. And then there are other events like AFM, MIA market, Ventana Sur, which are only like markets. So there is not like a public exhibition of films. I just listed some. There are many others. Of course, for you, it's quite relevant, Ventana Sur. Ventana Sur is organized by the people from Marché du Film, so there are many connections between the two markets, and it's also a good way to enter. Let's say, if you are, a goal, for example, is to go to Marché du Film, to first start at Ventana Sur, get to know like the market, and then like next year go to Marché. That could be an interesting strategy. But so the big difference when it comes to, well, why are markets important is because all these things that I was talking that we have to do, like we can do actually like meeting people, like in person, because our industry is pretty much about this. These are like, this is the market in Berlin. This is the market in Cannes. Outside, there is also a palais inside. Most of these stands are institutions from countries. So how it works is like Brazil has their own stand. In the case of Brazil, there was Cinema do Brasil, there was Especine, and I think the Rio Film Commission or something also from Rio. They were sharing they were kind of all together. For example, this is the Spanish booth. There was the Spanish one. There's Catalonia on the side. We are all kind of in the same area. You will find like a booth from each country, or then you will have the booth of the sales agents. That's when you were asking me, how can I meet sales agents? How can I know what they are looking for? In the markets, it's interesting because there's still someone who is going to be at the desk, hopefully with the willing to talk to you. But the point of the market is that it's like about booth and someone standing there welcoming you to talk. This is a format, to be honest, that it's a little bit dying, because that's the kind of market that was about selling and buying. And that's a market that it was for sellers and buyers. There are markets like MIPCOM, MIPTV in Cannes. I don't know if you have heard. These are like mainly for TV content or like platforms content. This is like the vibe is pretty much like, this is my project, buying and selling. What we have seen now is that all these events have been transforming, and they are really, really promoting the networking and the matchmaking by doing co-production events, pitchings, work in progress. Like all these events are transforming to actually promote the connections, because the format of selling and buying, it was kind of cold, and it worked in a moment that the industry was in a better place. Right now, the way that we operate in these markets is by making the projects get awareness slowly in these events, and you will see that all these markets have calls, like the same that the festivals have a call for films that are ready to be shown. Most of these markets now have calls for films that are either in development, that look for co-producers, that look for maybe top financing or like post-production grants. And that's what I would 100% recommend you to check. And not only is happening in these big markets, it's also happening like this, what we are doing right now here. But many of the festivals around the world are now starting to have an industry events parallel to the showing, the screening of the films. And that's where you really see the difference. When you go to a market, I go to a market with my dossier of projects. I want to schedule meetings. Of course, this is part of the work, but it makes such a big difference when my project is selected for the pitching, because then I have an audience and everyone comes, sit down to listen to my pitching. And these are really, I think these are the, unfortunately also very competitive spaces, but these are the ones that really make a difference for your projects. To be part of these events, once the projects are in even like in stages of development, financing still. So when going to a market and how to prepare for a market, it's like a little bit like strategizing for the festival release. Like you really need to prepare, especially if your aim is to be part of these international events that cost a lot of money. So really evaluate if this is the right market for you. Don't underestimate this part, because really make budgets for these markets. Understand how much it's going to cost me to fly to Nice, to go to Cannes, how much is an apartment in Cannes, how much is the accreditation in Cannes, how much I will need to spend in food. I know that, for example, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm like, please say you're wrong, but I think Especine has specifically support to go to markets for some companies from Sao Paulo. No? So these are the things that you also should put in this evaluation. Like, okay, can I get some support? Like, would it help me reduce my risks? Okay, you do all this evaluation. Then the registration process to get your badge, do it as soon as possible, because this is going to allow you to go to access the accreditation list and set meetings. And this is the process that every time I go to a market, I regret the most that I didn't put enough time on my setting meetings, because I'm always thinking I should start doing this at least like I don't know, 5 weeks before the market. And then all of a sudden it's 3 weeks before the market, and then I'm already traveling, and you think, what happened? Like, why I didn't do this more? And this is really, really makes the huge difference, and I will tell you. And also don't get frustrated, because, for example, our company, when we go to Cannes, I'm able to schedule 4 meetings a day, 5, with buyers, which are my main target. I want to sell my films. It's very little for the money I need to put to go there. Whereas if I go to Locarno, even if there are less buyers, I talk to more people and I have more meetings. So these are things that you also need to evaluate. Maybe I want to go to Cannes, and I did an amazing job to stalk all these people, understand what they want, and I send the meetings, the emails on time, and no one replies. again, this is the same as doing the festival submissions. I need to submit to 100 festivals to get 20 selections. If I'm lucky, I need to send 100 emails to get 10 meetings. And that's unfortunately how it works, because there, again, the bottleneck, no? We are all trying to get to the same people. Me, even if I have a small films, I'm ambitious and I want to meet this nice distributor from the UK because I think maybe he will love my film. So I try to push that, and most probably they are never gonna answer. But at the same time, I need to make a real evaluation of who are the potential partners. So that ones are the ones that I really need to make sure I have a meeting. Or if not, I go to their booth during the market, or I try to get someone to like put me in touch. And then, of course, before going, like, prepare the meetings. One of the things that happened to us as a film sales company, and we sometimes also do with the festivals, and it's not nice, is that you have a meeting and people is like, I have 5 films. Like, okay, I work with 5 films a year. I cannot, I mean, are you sure that all your 5 films are for me? So I have had meetings in these festivals that people is pitching me 5 shorts and 2 features, and it's like, I'm not going to remember anything about what you're telling. I'm not going to read the dossiers again when I'm home. So really, like, choose one or choose a couple. Make sure that this is the right thing for us. Don't waste the time during the markets, because the people, especially, all of these things I'm saying in Berlin and Cannes, like, these are, unfortunately, the stressful events. I think that's why I want to tell you, like, is it worth to go to Cannes, or maybe I should put the money, invest the money that I would spend in Cannes to go to 5 smaller festivals? Because there is, I'm going to have more quality time with the people, and usually this is like, if I really do the research, my projects might be actually more suitable for that market than a bigger one. Then, of course, you will attend the market, and finally, you will do the work of following up. That's also key. Like, it's key to not wait too much to follow up, because imagine, this year we went to Berlin. 3 weeks later, we were already registering for Cannes, the sales companies. That 3 weeks was the moment I had the time to wrap Berlin and think of my next market. If I receive an email from a producer that I met that want to send me the link, like 5 or 2 months later, I'm already having the schedule for Cannes. It's like, oh, this project now. So it's always tricky. And maybe you don't have the film ready, but it's nice to still send an email to say, it was very nice to meet you. My film is going to be ready in 5 weeks. Is it okay? I send the link there. La, la. Because people need, like, to keep connected and remember your projects. These, what I've mentioned, like as I was saying, it repeats a little bit, but these are the partners also to have another point of view on when you plan to attend markets. Imagine you are doing a co-production with France. Of course, you also want to be in Cannes, but maybe that for that project it makes sense that the French co-producer goes, and you take care of the Latin market. Because maybe you don't have enough resources to cover both markets, but you already have a partner that knows that territory. So, that's why, like, talk to them. You will have the same goals, and they can represent the project very good at that specific market. I know that Cannes, Berlin are, even if they are in Europe, they are, of course, like, important for everyone in the world. But don't forget that you have these partners. It happened to us sometimes. I'm a sales agent of a film, and the producer comes that they want to be with me in the meetings I have in Cannes. It's like, you are spending money to be in Cannes. This is my job. Like, go somewhere else, or like already think of the next project. Like, also, like, let us do our, like, there's some, I mean, you have to really like, if you trust someone to, like, do this job for you, really, like, trust them. If you feel like you cannot, don't sign that deal, because then you will be suffering all the time. And also the talent, that's something that I would like to say. Talents, as I said, programmers love talent, they love the directors, they love to be around them. Sometimes it's worth that they also go to these markets. And maybe you are not going to do the same job when you go to the market, so maybe they don't have to be in all the meetings that you have with potential co-producers, because that's weird that the director is there sometimes, but they can be meeting other people. They can be meeting, like, even like if you are thinking of going international with your project and you are thinking of co-producers, you will need to find other key members like DOPs, editors. Like in these markets, like if your talent really wants to work with, I don't know, the DOP of the film that is in Cannes, and maybe it's the right time for them to meet and see if this is going to work. Maybe it's worth that they come with you. And they could also like really represent the projects very well. I will send you this. This is like very tiny letter, not very, you cannot read very good. But what I put you here is a list of workshops, labs that are interesting. Some are project-based, some are like professional career-based. And I try to put, I think all of them are UR eligible. I mean, because some things are European but are open for rest of the world. I was lucky to do Talents, Locarno Industry Academy. I'm doing now Puentes. All these things have, for me, has been key to put me as a Caral, as a professional out there, even if I don't have any projects in these labs, because I went there as a professional, and now even I'm doing Puentes without the project, and I'm together with producers who have projects, and we are working together. And these are all like amazing places to start putting yourself out there in an international level. A quick note that Talents and Locarno have local or regional academies and events. So for Berlinale Talents, there is the big summit in Berlin, but there is also Talents around Latin America, also in some African countries. The same with Locarno. I think Locarno actually, they have one of the academies in Brazil. So sometimes to apply for the big event in, I know many people who did first the Latin, like the Brazil Academy, and then they went to Locarno. You know, like there are all these possibilities. Don't forget to think that you, being in Latin America is also like thinking regionally in Latin America is good strategically, because then if you have a good positioning within Latin America, then you can establish partnerships outside of it. And we, for example, as Europeans, I will know you as, of course you are Brazilian, but you have been already establishing yourself in the region. That's like, you know, you can start like small steps in Brazil, then in Latam, then maybe also with North America to do then a jump to Europe. Like all these events are very interesting and promote this kind of exchange. I specifically put some that are happening here or have some kind of, this is repeated, well, Puentes. But for example, the work in progress in Toulouse, Cine Latino Toulouse, that actually now they also did a selection of work in progress for this event. Here we have the Sao Paulo Audiovisual Hub, BRB Lab, but also like Guadalajara Film Farm, the BAM, Cinemart, San Sebastian, all these are, the Cinemart is Rotterdam, sorry, the market in Rotterdam. San Sebastian, you have the work in progress, you have the Encuentro de Coproducción. These are all promoting the co-production between Europe and Latam. Conecta Fiction and Forum are those two events in Spain that they also have always projects from Latin America. And then here I listed the ones that are more based, like project-based. So you need to apply with a project, like the Torino, there are different, like the feature film lab, the script lab, Sundance, the residence in Cannes. This is the MFI in Greece. Ikusmira Berriak is a Spanish one. Well, because you will have access to these links, you can really check. And then very quickly, this I'm going to go super quickly, but just for you to see how some talent and some producers have built their international strategies. This is a Catalan filmmaker, Carla Simón. She started with the film Estiu 1993, summer 1993. She applied for Berlinale Script Station. She got then to the Copro market. Thanks to that, they got a co-producer. They could apply to media. They got a grant. Remember that you can be beneficiaries of media, I mean the projects, if you have the European partners. Of course, they got the money, like national support. They premiered in Berlin. They won 2 awards. And that was the the official submission for the Oscars. She did that already with the first film by building a strong development strategy of the project. But this was still not yet an international co-production. They financed, all the film was produced all in Spain. So they got this international awareness, but the film was mainly Spanish. With the next project, and they were, the sales were made by New Europe Film Sales, which is a company that supports a lot of new films, new talent, first-time filmmakers. The second film, she was invited to the Cine Fundación, the residency, and already participated in Torino, NIPCO. This is all these are like for script development. They went again to the co-production market, and this time they won the Eurimages Co-Production Award. That, of course, they signed a co-production deal, in this case with Italy. They got money. They could also apply to Ibermedia in this case because of Italy. They went Berlin, won the Golden Bear. And they were, again, the official submission for Spain for the Oscars. And with her last film, you will see that they already didn't need all of that. They went to Cinemark because I don't think they needed that, but I think they wanted to go. They already got the co-production fund of Eurimages to produce, so for production. They got, of course, money. Cannes main competition, they didn't win the Palme d'Or. But this is only like, she did 3 films. She went from like Spanish, totally like local film in Catalan, to being part of the official selection. I'm sure that she wouldn't get to this point if she wouldn't have trust the process of developing internationally, being part of these events. You see, it takes years, 2 years. For this film, even longer. So if you want to build this international awareness with your projects and follow this path, it takes time. It's also competitive. And of course, it's not the only way to do it, but you will see that it takes time. You apply, you need to be selected, you need to do the residency. I remember Carla was saying in a talk that at some point, after doing so many labs, it was not useful anymore for her film, because for her first film, she was not confident enough, and to receive so much feedback, she got a little bit lost, but still, like, it positioned the film very well. I also put other examples that you can access. I want to give some time for questions, but yeah, I put like a Chilean film, a Paraguayan film. And now I'm gonna open the floor. We don't have a lot of time. In the meantime, I'll leave you this QR code, thanks to Amanda, who gave me this idea. You can download the presentation. So we make sure, if someone has any problems, let me know. And I think there is a mic around. I don't know who has a question. I'm also gonna be here for a week, so if you see me around, like, just say hi, and we can also talk like for more detailed stuff. I will go back to the QR code now, but I also gonna give you my contact. It's also on my website, so you can also like check, take a picture. But yeah, if anyone has a specific question, I will be happy to reply. But yeah, again, I know I talk a lot about sales, but yeah, I really encourage you to come tomorrow, because the workshop is going to be very in-depth. There is a question here. So, I want to do it in Portuguese. Wait. If it's in Portuguese,
Yeah.
It's fine.
Bom, primeiro, obrigado pela apresentação, tem muito conteúdo importante, né? Meu nome é Fábio, eu sou produtor executivo de uma produtora que é de Santa Catarina. E, além de produtor de filmes, né, a gente está com 3 curtas-metragens finalizados, um longa-metragem em pré-produção, tentando ainda a complementação do financiamento. E também estamos produzindo um festival de cinema universitário que agora começa a ampliar, né, para receber projetos profissionais, né? Então, acabei vendo os dois lados, né, de quem produz e tenta inscrever os projetos e também tentando ver do ponto de vista de quem está produzindo um festival que já existe há bastante tempo, mas é a primeira vez que eu estou produzindo lá. E aí algumas questões, assim, só como observação, que talvez até possa servir para outras pessoas daqui, da dificuldade das produções pequenas, de curtas-metragens, principalmente, que não tem um mercado, né, que tem um retorno comercial, né, financeiro, da dificuldade de conseguir inscrever em festivais internacionais, né, por conta do alto custo, ainda mais sendo em dólar e euro, né, acaba ficando muito difícil, né? E algumas limitações também de algumas leis, né? Então, por exemplo, os nossos curtas eles foram financiados, mas não tinha como colocar uma verba de distribuição, porque você tem que fazer a prestação de contas, né, antes de entrar em distribuição, né? Então, isso aí são coisas que a gente precisa rever para poder fortalecer essa etapa de distribuição, até fazer com que as pessoas que criam os editais, né, que tenham essa compreensão. Inclusive, eu tive um projeto que ele foi recusado porque precisava de um cronograma e a gente colocou um cronograma pensando no tempo de 2 anos de festival, mais o período de comercialização, e aí foi recusado porque o objeto era apenas a produção. Então, assim, eu vou fazer um filme para ser visto, né, para ser exibido, não para colocar na gaveta, né? Então, aí existe ali uma coisa que não faz sentido, né? Mas, enfim, é só uma observação, mas até que é importante que as pessoas participem desse debate público, né? Participem das entidades representativas para que esses ajustes possam ser feitos e corrigidos nos editais de todos os âmbitos, municipais, estaduais, federais, né? E, enfim, eu acho que são só apenas observações e dificuldades, né, que eu identifico tanto como produtor e como agora realizador de festival, né, dessa questão da cobrança para realizar o festival. Porque um outro detalhe que eu achei importante, dessa relação de B2B e B2C. Com essa cobrança dos produtores de festival, tá mudando um pouco essa relação de B2B com B2C, porque o consumidor está virando o produtor e não o público final que vai assistir o filme, né? No caso de um evento de mercado, eu acho que justo, né? Porque você está indo ali fazer uma capacitação, participar de masterclass, um pitching, né? Ali tudo bem, ali tem uma relação de negócio, eu acho que faz sentido cobrar. Mas eu acho que para exibir um filme, principalmente um curta-metragem, eu acho que deveriam ter uma abertura maior para receber esses projetos. É isso, obrigado.
Yes, thank you. I think I was a little bit lost, but I think I got your point. No, I completely agree, and unfortunately, like there's like this example, for example, that I put at the end. It's just a small percentage of whatever is being done, and the amount of films that are out there being done. And I believe that even if there is something quite democratic in the approach of festivals on like being open for submissions, like there is still like too many privileged people, like just a few privileged people that have the resources, the access, the time, the money, like to do this. And then there's like, especially there is still like in Europe, of course, we have many more support that you have here in Latin America. So there are things that our industry needs to revert, and not everyone is willing to do that. And I think that we sometimes lose the point that is like, what are we doing? I mean, are we supposed to show these films to someone, no? Or are we just... Then, of course, I think that the film is not... If we only think about the audience, we should stop right now, because no one watches films, unfortunately. So I think that there is still a lot of things that still happen only between us. And if you think of Cannes, for example, no one off the street goes to watch films. We are all people from the industry. Like the experience of watching the film in Cannes, I mean, like that. That's crazy if you think like of like the aim of a festival, no? That should be to show the films to the audience. We are all professional audience. So there's a lot that unfortunately stays only between us and doesn't break to the like people in the street, let's say. And I think we really need to understand that it's hard, unfortunately. And for short filmmakers, for example, in my company, my policy and something that I do is that I have a completely different models. For if I work with a Spanish film that they got funding, I need money. I need the resources. Well, I will ask for the resources, I mean. If I work, for example, with a Brazilian film that we find a way that there was some money for the festival submissions, but my job was paid by a commission that I needed to find money, like sell the film. Luckily, we could sell to Canal Plus, but my shorts, I would say, I can sell one a year, I can sell to the TVs. The others, I don't sell. So we also need, as an industry, for me, it's important to think that I'm part of of the world, and if I want to work with a film from a region that is called, and have not like the same resources as I can have as a European, I have the privilege as a Spanish company to take the risk for maybe 1 or 2 shorts a year and work with this model. But it's a personal choice, unfortunately. There's not a structure that allows to do this like more organized and more professionalized. But what your point about being a producer and also being on the other side, I think that our industry, many people is doing like working in these different sites, and that we share the same problematics. And sometimes it feels like we are not aligned, but at the same time we are all kind of having the same issues, and we should discuss more and make this more, to change the policies, then talk to the people who has the capacity to split the resources. But yeah, it's a very nice industry, but I don't know how. I mean, it's also hard sometimes, the business itself. I think there is another question.
Pode. Oi? Aqui, ó, desse lado. No escuro. Bem, eu sou Denise Zabo, sou produtora da Ibirá Cultural, que é uma produtora da região do ABC, então a gente está a São Paulo, quase São Paulo. E a minha pergunta vai muito ao encontro dos filmes de baixo orçamento, né, dos filmes dos pequenos produtores, porque acho que quem produz no interior, no ABC, tem um histórico de produzir filmes de baixo orçamento, não necessariamente porque a gente quer, mas é porque é o que nesse momento é um momento de carreira. E o que eu sinto na hora de levar esses filmes eles acabam estando... a gente faz escolhas de fotografia, por exemplo, que caibam no nosso orçamento, e como que a gente chega para um agente de vendas e usa essa capacidade de produzir com pouco como forma de vender o filme, né? No sentido de dizer, olha, a gente consegue, não só o filme, mas as produtoras também, a gente tem uma capacidade de produção com baixo orçamento. Como que a gente... acho que explica isso, não sei se a palavra explica, mas traz isso para vocês como uma coisa que pode ser positiva na venda desse filme, tanto para o nosso retorno como produtores, tanto para o retorno de vocês. Então, é isso. Obrigada.
Thank you for the question, if I got it okay. I think that's, again, that you really need to understand who is this sales company that you're addressing, if their goal, imagine if these companies that have 20 employees, they're only going to take films that can pay the salary of these 20 people. And that's unfortunately the business side, that's running a business. So they are only have a capacity to take like very, very little risks in a scale of like big films. Like then there are other companies that we operate differently, and we decide to have business models that allow us to, well, or that's actually, we are not that far. You produce low budget films, I do low budget marketing strategies, I do low budget promotional strategies. So I think what you really, really need to do is to find these companies that are still able to find as a selling point or as a positive thing to see a film that you think, oh wow, you made this film with 200,000 euros, and it's amazing, you know, like that we find value on this. Unfortunately, something that might sound like it's a problem, but we still can find a value on this. There's also a point of like when I watch a film, sometimes of course you see the production value of a film, but sometimes I don't even know how much money is made of, you know, like I see films that then they tell me the budget and I'm shocked, like you did this with this amount of money, or the other side, like you had like some short that I'm like, you had this amount of money and that's what you invested in? No, like, or I mean, no, but it's true, like this unfortunately happens quite a lot in Europe, that we have sometimes more access to money and we don't make the most of it. So like two advices. One, maybe it's like really try to find these companies by researching these films that are examples like similar than you, that you think, okay, this company like with this small budget film made it to like these bigger sales, or like this sales that has more maybe a commercial ambition, or at least has an ambition to put this film out there, or completely the opposite. Don't even mention the budget of your film and like sell, promote, and bring to my attention other stuff. Because if I think the film has a potential, what I care the less is the budget that you have made of this. I know that for you it makes a big difference, but the way we promote films, I never talk about how much money was made my films. The festival programmers never ask these kind of questions, at least. And I have films that I can tell you like are super low budget. I have films that were, short films that were made with 5,000 euros that, of course, this is not a film, it's not okay because no one get paid, but we sell that film to Canal Plus. They don't even know like how much money was made that film, you know. So that's something that you have to decide how you position. But also, I would tell you, as working from the peripheria, or like also not from, is also for me is an interesting thing, because I also work, like my company is not based in Barcelona, it's based in a village that is 4,000 people, and that to me is a statement also. Like I want to decentralize a little bit Barcelona, like everything is happening there, or in Madrid, like, you know. So for me, when I meet someone who works from like somewhere else, that's a strong something. I don't know it. At least you might have a different point of view of things as a producer that might resonate with what I'm looking for, you know. So that's for me, that's something that I would use as a strong, what you say, as a strong point. But yeah, you need to see who you are addressing to decide what you put out, like in your positioning and your pitching. I don't know if I reply your question. And then, do we have time for another one? Well, I have time. I don't know about the room.
Hello, my name is Conrado. I'm from Valletta de Copas Films. I would like to ask about the feedback you got from the Rotterdam Festival. I didn't know we could ask for feedbacks, and I would like to talk a little more how we can approach these festivals. If you know someone, I believe you know someone in the festival, but us that are here in Brazil or Latin America, how can we approach the festivals to ask for this feedback, even in the case of no?
Well,
thank you.
So you can do that, but many festivals are going to tell you we are not going to give you individual feedback. The strong point of having a sales is that we have this relationship with many programmers because we work every year with these people. So we might be able to get feedback that sometimes for the producers they are not able to give. This is just because of a thing of like volume of feedback they need to give. But one of the big advices I would give you is like think that many of the big festivals have like advisors from the regions or like programmers that are only going to take care of, like, for example, Brazil. If you think of Berlinale, Berlinale has a Brazilian programmer, or used to have a Brazilian advisor. Like San Sebastian also have Javier Martin, who is like the one who is taking care of Latin America. Like this is the people that it's going to be easier for you to reach, not like maybe the main programmers or the director of the festival. And that's the one that you can have established like more of a relationship as a producer, because their job is to scout projects in this region or in this country specifically, so they are willing to meet the producers personally because their job is to only talk with, well, get the Brazilian projects, you know. Not all the festivals have that, of course, because these are like the big festivals who have enough resources to have a big team. But that would be my first advice, like try to meet the corresponsales, I don't know how is it called in English. And then, yeah, like you will always be able to get more feedback if you have another invitation. And that's something that as producers and filmmakers, sometimes it's not very nice to do. I mean, as you, because I mean, this is more of like a kind of a chantaje thing. I don't know how to say it. Like, but the salespeople, we are a little bit here for that. We are the ones that we go to the festivals and we say, look, there's more interest, either you tell me something or I'm gonna accept the other one. We can play the bad cops, let's say, for that. So that's one of the, when it comes to this, when it comes to negotiating of fees, that's the job that you will benefit a lot about by having a sales or a distributor. Yeah, very quickly, sales agents are the ones who work worldwide. Distributors are, for me, the way I talk it is the ones that are taking care of a specific territory. For short films, usually it's just one. We don't have distributors for each territory. But going back to your point, not even me, I don't get feedback every time I get it. Like now that I'm waiting for Venice, I was waiting for Locarno. You don't know how many mails I've been sending to people that I will have lunch later tonight. And still it's like, unfortunately, part of our job. But yeah, usually like be clever with this. If you think like that you can, like a festival invites you, like then you will have that power, let's say, to push the other festivals. And that's the perfect timing to get, that you will feel like their reply is more quick and that they will get more engaged. But yeah, it's not, you will see many times they say, we cannot give individual feedback, especially with short films, again. There was one here.
Olá, tudo bem? Meu nome é Júlia, eu sou realizadora e eu tenho, na verdade, duas perguntinhas rápidas para fazer. A primeira, se é o mercado europeu tem uma boa janela de vendas, né, dentro de streamings, TVs para curta-metragens. E aí, se eu puder, eu vou emendar a segunda pergunta, que ela vai mais no que a gente estava conversando sobre festivais, né? Se, apesar de não existir uma fórmula, eu gostaria de saber se existe algum caminho mais seguro para novos realizadores começarem a construir carreira internacional, né, nesses festivais.
Okay, I start with the second question. Yeah, it's a hard one. So I would say, no, I mean, yeah, like you will need to, I mean, it's always easier to start building careers internationally with shorts, even if shorts are also hard. But with shorts are more festivals, and there is a different way of, and there's a lot of competition, but at the same time there are more spots. Yeah, just thinking of Clermont-Ferrand programs like 400 films, and it's still an amazing festival. Whereas, I don't know, like other festivals, when features, they program a lot of features, the features get lost. In the short films, I feel like if you are trying to develop a feature film and you are a first-time filmmaker, it's always nice to have some shorts before. So I would say start with the shorts and then start by promoting the shorts and distributing them, and that will start building your career. That would be the most, for me, clear path that I've seen with the filmmakers that I work, is when they start with the shorts and they maybe not even like the first short. Usually the first short, nothing happens. And then the second one, but usually also the first short is the one that you didn't have any resources to make. Like it's more like this training moment, maybe in film school. But yeah, that, and then also as a filmmaker, is to partner with producers who have had already these projects, like they have the international status. So if you have now a project, a script, and you won, and you think that script has the potential to get like to be selected in international festivals, of course you need to find a partner that believes in your project, but at the same time, like if this partner has already had experiences in festivals, they had already partners abroad, that is always going to make things a little bit easier. You as producers, when you look for a co-producer, you can either decide to choose the one that maybe is super strong nationally. You might have a national co-production and they will get the funds. But maybe your goal with this film is specifically to do this international jam. So maybe you will prefer to work with this producer who is doing a lot of minority co-productions, and all his minority co-productions are being selected somewhere in some festivals internationally. So that maybe partnership is going to bring you quicker to the goal to be in festivals. But again, there's a big percentage of luck that, yeah. And then the other question was about, selling shorts. From our experience, there is only like a couple of channels that pay something that is considered okay, like Canal Plus, Arte, like the French, German ones. In Brazil, I think it was Canal Brazil that through a festival we were invited to submit the film, and then there was an option to get bought. We didn't get to that point, but there was kind of a, I understood in that case it was through a festival that was doing kind of a possibility to present the films. In our case, how it is like some TVs pay, okay, some TVs pay very little but still pay. TVs, in our internal politics of our company, if we put the film on a TV, we want them to pay. Then the platforms, usually it's always revenue share. So you split the 30%, 70%, something like that. And from that, it translates to very little money, because the marketing that these platforms do to promote your film is not, especially short, they don't invest in marketing, so it will be people, friends that will watch. But still it gives prestige. For example, in Spain we have Filmin, it's a great platform. You don't make money, but it's the platform. We all want to have our shorts there. So that could bring you maybe prestige, but not money. You also can decide on this. And then one thing that raised a little bit, and I think it's already going down unfortunately, but was okay for a couple of years, was the AVOD, what we call advertisement VOD. That these companies sell advertisement, and during the film you have some, like the old TV, well, like free TV, you have some ads. These companies were able to pay a little bit, like a little fee. So that's the more commercial opportunities for shorts. And then if you have a film for the educational market, that's to us the strongest market. Educational, especially in the US, in some European countries, because it's content for children, but also, for example, to learn languages. There is also like kind of some channels that are promoting learning languages. For example, Portuguese could be in that list of like one of the most spoken countries in the world. Well, not maybe most, but like important. You could sell. For example, I have films in Catalan. I'm never going to sell because Catalan is not like a wanted to learn language. But like with Spanish, it happens. English, of course, French, Portuguese, they were also interested. So that's a world that if the film matches this educational target and interest, I would recommend you to check.
Hey you, congratulations for your presentation.
Thank you.
It was really nice, I loved it. And I have this question, it's a beginner question. And because like, I'm already in the industry, but mostly as an actress, and now I'm switching for production and filmmaking, and I have this project that is very niched, and I think it's quite hard to sell, to raise funding with queer films in Brazil, especially when you're trying to create like new narratives about queer people, you know. So my short is really violent, and it's quite hard to raise money. So, and I was talking with my partner and taking advice from other people, like not hopefully, but luckily I have good connections in here. But everybody was telling me that I should approach an European production company. Because first of all, like I also write the project. So when I write the projects, I know how much it's gonna cost. You know, like when I write, I have this, you know, like this line of thoughts. So, and I'm wondering, like, it's very literal. Like, how can I approach an international production company? You know, like. With my first project, you know, like without, like I have experience like with streaming as an actress and etc., but not as a producer. So what can I show to them to ask them for money?
Well, you will need to think that you will need to make some compromises when it comes to, so in Europe we have opportunities for financing, but at the same time we have regulations. So we will need either DOP, like a team. So you will need to, sometimes it's interesting if you want to collaborate with, I don't know, you have a co-writer or an actress, an actor from another country, this automatically can generate an interest from a producer, like, oh, this person is willing to work with DOP. Imagine that you have seen this short with this, I don't know, Spanish DOP. And then it's like, okay, there's something there, an open door I can follow. So you have always to kind of give them the, like kind of a way that they could see that this is possibly to happen by like, yeah, having like team from this specific country that you would like to co-produce, or think more like with whom would you like to work? Like if you watch other shorts, it's like, wow, I love the editor. Let me contact this editor and try first to find the team, creative team around you. That could be an option. And the other option is to go to these markets, well, apply to your project to these markets, like the Clermont-Ferrand, it has a European co-production market. Of course, you will need to find already, in this case, you will need the co-producer, but in these events, you will see who is willing to co-produce. Because also short film co-production is not that easy. So there are a few companies that co-produce all the time, or like more often. So that is also this kind of markets. You see, which projects are selected, these companies are willing to co-produce. And again, you should really see, because you say your project is very niche, so focus on the niche, like look for the producers who won the Teddy Award in Berlinale, like see who is attending these events that are from the queer community, because they are always gonna be more sensitive to your topic or like interested to produce your film in general. That could be the other option. And the third option, like find a strong Brazilian producer who has contacts. And then maybe they say, I cannot find the money in Brazil, but we will together find a partner outside and make this happen. You're welcome. We are like super late, no? Lydia? It's over. Sorry, I talk a lot. Thank you so much for attending.